This is the man who wrote The Man of Many Fathers, everyone. He is, you probably know him from The Daily Show. He has his own show on CNN. Well, it's not his own show. He shares the show on CNN with some other people.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he just wrote a book called The Man of Many Fathers. You're listening to Roy Wood Jr. on this episode of Dear Chelsea. And I have to say, let me tell you something, Roy. From a woman to a straight man, it is so refreshing, Catherine, I think you would agree, to read a book by a straight man that is so reflective and self-aware. And it was really just, it's such a great book. Like,
thank you.
For women to read, for mothers to read about how to raise a good man. I think there's a lot of stuff in here about that and your relationship with your mother more specifically and your relationship with your father. So let's start there with your relationship with your father, because you didn't really start out living with your father. Your mom and you guys lived alone for a while, and then you started to get into a little bit of trouble, and she decided to move so that you could be close to your father. So she essentially got back together with your father in a kind of open relationship because you started to act up.
Yeah. Now that I'm older, I can say I don't think she ever got back with him. She moved in. We moved back in with them, which is a different dynamic because they never slept in the same bedroom. Like my parents never, as far as I know, ever had sex again. But the idea of I'm a single mom, I work all day, I'm in grad school all night, I cannot keep an eye on him. I will lose him to the streets if I don't make this choice. So in a lot of ways, I think that my mother sacrificed her own happiness and comfort in a way to ensure that I had some degree of upbringing, from, having a male in the house.
So you guys moved to Birmingham, right? When you moved back in with your father? Okay.
Correct. Third grade.
So, but you talk in the book, we're going to jump around a little bit because in the book, since you just brought it up, in the book, you talk about your dad's other, he had children with another woman. He had 2 young sons with another woman. And you talk about her coming over to your mom's house or your parents' house and your mom flipping out and being like, as long as I don't see any of these women, it's okay, but don't bring them around here, which implies that they were in some sort of romantic relationship, no?
Yeah, I guess some sort of open relationship or you're disrespecting me because I'm your wife, but you have kids and you take this woman out all over town to the point where people thought that was my mom. Like anytime my pop stepped out, it was with her. And so for my mom, I think it was, I know what's happening, but I'm going to keep my head down. The money I'm saving on rent, I'm pouring into law school, and then I'm going to fucking leave you. In the meantime, these women are not going to be so blatant with the disrespect that they think that they can just come over to your house and say hello to you or check in with you and things like that. And so that's where my mom drew the line. My mom was very gangster, man. Like, I just think that it's not a part of herself that she likes to access. I mean, she went toe-to-toe Jim Crow in Mississippi in the 60s. She was the first wave of students to integrate Delta State University. It's a university that, as of recent, is in the news because of 2 black people being found hung. So she's talked a lot of shit to a lot of people in strange places and could have paid a much larger price. So no, she's not going to be scared of some random woman coming to the house trying to cuss my daddy out. You gonna get slapped up.
Well, she's gonna come back with a bat, is what happens in the book.
Yeah, my bat. I couldn't even use it anymore in Little League after that because the glass. That's a separate conversation.
Well, yeah, you can read about it in the book, everybody.
My mom was just very no nonsense, and I don't know if that I don't know how that changed my look on relationships. I definitely know how it changed my look on marriage, for sure. Like, I don't have an idealistic view of marriage. I'm not anti-marriage, but you're not going to tell me everybody that is married is successful and truly happy. So don't throw these 30-year, 40-year relationships in my face as an example of what could be. 40 years, how many happy? Mm-hmm. And that's the question married people never answer.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like when you talk about raising a child. I mean, I find it analogous to that only because I've done neither of those things. When you think about raising a child and all the things that come along with it, it's like, how many moments of bliss are there? Obviously, you love this person more than anything else in the world, but how many moments of bliss compared to the moments of stress and agony and all of the other things that come with it? And how do those moments of bliss just overpower all of the other stuff? It's kind of similar to
Yeah.
marriage. Like, it can't be, I guess it has to be more good than bad. But raising a kid, if you get an off one or one that's not cooperative, that's fucking
Yeah.
stressful.
Can't really unload them either.
Yeah. Nobody wants to raise the murderer.
No.
And I'm sure they didn't set out to do things that made their child commit crimes. But with my son, I'll say this. It feels like an opportunity for me to create the version of myself that I wish I had been, and then to set that out into the world to better the world, if you will. Like that idea of it, I'm not really caught up in legacy and like I didn't name him Roy Wood the Third. I wouldn't dare.
That would be really embarrassing. I don't. I think that it's a love. It's also a love letter to your son in a way. It's telling your son what you missed, and I think what you're saying is also like it's really powerful for fathers to talk to their sons in this way, especially as men, because the language, the softer the language becomes, and the more insightful it becomes, the less violent the world becomes. Raising a guy is tricky. Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with your father. Like, this guy was like a major communicator. You say some very funny things about him, but he was very influential. He was on the radio. He was part of the civil rights movement, right?
Yeah. I'd say a civil rights journalist is probably the best way to summate. Like, he's just a journalist who focused solely on struggle and conflict on issues affecting Black people globally.
And when you spent time with him, like in the book, it sounds like you were kind of like, he just kind of took you wherever he went. You were kind of his little sidekick, right? Like he wanted to keep you occupied. He didn't want you out on the streets. He wanted you to either be in class. I mean, in one instance, he enrolled you back in school after you had already you finished your school year because he didn't want you hanging around the house, which I think is a clutch move, actually.
He didn't even enroll me. He just took me to the school because I would spend when Memphis City Schools ended, I get sent to Birmingham. First month in Birmingham City Schools are still in session. So rather than get a babysitter, he just dropped me off and knowing what I know now, it's probably some teacher he was fucking. And like, damn, you know how good your dick games got to be to just, hey, put my son in your class and teach him shit. I'll be back at 3. And that's what he would do, man. My pops would take me around with him, and I never got to go do putt-putt or have a fun, cool father. It's literally, hey, man, Jesse Jackson's in town for the Democratic National Convention. I'm going to go interview him. You're coming. Bring a snack. And that was it.
And if you could pay for it yourself, even better, because his dad was hugely penurious, didn't want him to spend any money. So Roy, like myself, was very resourceful as a young person, creating his own business, raking leaves, drumming up a lot of business. Also, we have something in common, which I texted you about last week, is in the book, he tells one of my favorite stories, or the one that resonated with me the most, is because there's actually a lot of similarities between our childhoods, is that your parents forgot to pick you up from school and you walked home in the freezing cold. How long did it take you before you got a ride from that guy at the convenience store?
It was a liquor store. It's way worse than you wish it was a convenience store. I was walking 40 minutes before I got to the liquor store, and I still had about another hour to go to get home.
And what was the temperature?
It was about 15 degrees, maybe 20. It's Birmingham in January. Baseball season starts late January. Both my parents thought the other one was going to get me from practice. I get home and they're fucking watching Jeopardy, just chilling. Like, life is sweet. And I get in the liquor store and there was just a drunk dude in there. And I'm like, hey, man, just will you give me a ride? Like, he offered the ride. And you know, you're taught in that era in the 90s, don't take a ride from a stranger. And I'm like, fuck it, bro. Even if you're going to molest me, I bet you got a heater. So let's do it. And the guy, God bless him, was a drunk, but he cared enough to cap the liquor and not drink and drive while he took me home.
I know, that was a very nice touch to that story. You think it's almost a misdirect. You think he is going to molest you, and instead he's like, you know what? I'll save my drink until after I get this kid home.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a drunk. I'm not a pervert. I was like, I respect that, bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But that's the kind of community Birmingham was, man. It's just strangers would still look out. There was still Southern hospitality. It's a 15-year-old kid shivering to his bones. Give him a ride.
I told you my parents once did that to me. They forgot to pick me up from Hebrew school, and I walked home 2.5 miles in a snowstorm. And I was convinced. I just walked in. I saw them, the same thing. They're sitting at the fucking kitchen table. I was the youngest of 6 kids, though. So, like, my parents, you know, my both of them together had 6 children. And so, I guess that's some sort of excuse of being just fucking,
too many,
bankrupt of, time, emotion, or any sort of logistical planning. But yeah, I walked in pissed and I was like, fuck both of you. And Roy, when I texted Roy this, I was like, I also got left at school. And he said, did you call the cops on them? I'm like, yeah, as soon as I got home, I called the police.
I was the only child in that house with my parents. How y'all not notice that I'm not here yet?
Yeah, the fact that they both each thought the other was going to get you, but neither of them looked at each other and was like, where's Roy when they got home?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. My parents didn't really completely rock with each other like that. So if they were in the same room watching TV, they just had to enjoy that moment of peace. I could understand my mom not looking at him and going, hey, don't forget responsibilities. And then my dad snapping on her about something.
You tell a story about being a kid and getting in an argument with your mom over a toy that you wanted at the mall. And then your mom was like, you started to kind of throw a tantrum and your mom just walked out and left you there. And then a white woman got involved, somebody who was scared for your safety. So I want to know, in what other ways have trifling white women impacted your life, Roy?
You know what? That white lady was trying to help, but she didn't know she was interrupting an important lesson about discipline. Because my mama was one of them ones where I'll just leave you. I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to have a temper tantrum about a fucking Voltron lion, I'm just going to leave you in the mall. And my mom walked off, and the poor little white lady, Miss, you left your son. Miss. She knows. That was the whole point of it. I remember one time getting separated from my mom in the 5th grade and having a panic attack in Macy's in the Galleria. And a white lady comes over and, sir, what's going on? And I'm gonna help you. And what's going on, baby? What's your mother's name? Joyce, come over here. And this fucking white cashier, Chelsea, pulls up the PA system in Macy's and hands it to me. And then I'm just on the mic, Mama, where are you? I'm in women's stockings. This Roy. Click. And my mom comes over furious, cusses out the white lady. My mom is 1,000% in the wrong, but my mom is framing it under some sort of, I knew where he was. He knew to stay there. You need to mind your business. But because in my mom's mind, they're going to take you from me.
Yeah, right.
That's all her thought was, that you called the police. You have involved an employee who will involve management, who will involve the police. So my mom had to come in on the offensive and just immediately cuss her out. That's really the most really weird white women. There was a semi-racist incident in Tallahassee with a partner of mine. But is it racism if they're right?
A partner of yours? What do you mean a partner of yours?
Let me ask you.
Well, I'm not the one to answer that, Roy, as you know. But
set you up.
What was the other experience?
So in college, me and a partner, we went to the mall. We're 17 years old, maybe 18. And we walk into Wilson's, the leather experts. You have to say the full name of this store. We go into Wilson's and we're just looking at leather jackets. White woman sales rep comes over. She goes, we don't have layaway. Oh. We haven't said shit. She hasn't said, hello, how you doing? Can I help you? My name is Eva, whatever. And we go, we don't need layaway. We snap back at her real fast and she walks off. And then we looked at the price of them jackets and fucking we needed layaway. Them shits was like $1,000. It's a leather jacket. That shit's like starts at $1,000. We thought this would be $150 like fucking starter jacket, like some NBA Jordan chalk line. It was $1,000. So me and Barrett spend the next 30 minutes in the store pretending we have money because we don't want her to think we don't have money. Because that's how you fight racism. It's just aggressive browsing.
So let's
kept trying on shit.
Let's circle back to your dad. So how do you look at your relationship with your dad now that you're an adult man with a son? Like, how do you frame it and how do you feel about it?
I think forgiveness without forgetting is probably the best bucket to put it in. For however our parents failed us, be it mom or dad, you get older and you start looking at some of them, and I can draw lines to go, that's why you did that. That's why you behave like that. That sucks. But at least I understand now. One of the biggest blessings for me was doing Finding Your Roots. And I did that, the DNA show or whatever. And they find out all of this history about my dad's side of the family that I never knew. My dad never brought me around his side of the family. Only like family reunions and I know I know all my half siblings, but his extended family tree, never met him. So I found out that my grandfather was killed when my dad was 4. Well, he disappeared in the night without a trace in Georgia in the 1930s. So we know what that is. The census data that PBS found showed that my father did not have another male head of household the rest of his life. So for all I know, he didn't have a version of what I had growing up, just somebody there to check his ass. And he also was hit by a car when he was 16 and crippled permanently while running after a woman that had just broken up, a girl, because he was 16, running after a girl who had just broken up with him. So how do you think that informed his idea and opinions about women and dating, and who was there to give him any type of game on manhood? Truth be told, I walked away from that television show that day just understanding that my pops was pretty much fucked from age 4 and was solidified at age 16. And anything else he became as a byproduct of trying to get past whatever traumas he was still dealing with. So you comfort yourself in women, I guess, or you comfort yourself in the people, that praise you and adore you. He was loved for his voice because he couldn't be athletic anymore. And, he changed a lot of people's lives. And I think that's the part that's like so weird when you have a parent that was different for you than what everybody else got. Because, my pops dies when I'm 16. And then you start hearing all these cool stories and great stories about him. And I didn't get that. I never saw or experienced that. One of the hardest things for me to do is I follow my 2 younger siblings. I'm closest to them because we're closest in age. And with me and the older halves, it's a 20-year age gap up. So like with the younger ones, one of the hardest things is following them on social media because they'll post pictures with them and pops. And they got the old school Polaroid Kodak joints that have the date printed on the photo. And I can look at the photo and look at the date and tell you whether or not the lights were on at our house. Or they're at Disney World, or they're at damn Six Flags. My little brother posted a picture, me and Daddy that summer when we went to the thing and we had a good time. And I'm like, I had to fucking sit and watch you interview Michael Dukakis in 84. Like, I didn't get to go to nothing fun. And then on top of that, you're beefing with my mom at the time, but you're living the normal life over there. And after a while, you just got to respect it, Chelsea. Like, it's not ideal. It wasn't cool. But as I got older and I had a son and I started thinking about the idea of showing him love and what does love look like? And well, what were the examples I had of love? I have to look to my dad and the other woman. I have to. And I have to unpack that. If I want to have any shot of understanding how I would show up in love with a woman, I need to look at how my dad showed up so I have something to compare and contrast my behaviors to. And that was eye-opening. Because, I mean, you know my stand-up, I don't talk about my life. I don't talk about because it was just so weird. It was so complicated. It was easier for me to just talk about the world. But, you know, I look at the choices he made, and I really feel like my pops didn't understand how to get love right until the end, until the last 10 years of his life. So you go around, I'm the 9th of 11 kids by 5 different women, just for perspective. So you spend a front half of your life and career dedicated to the job that you love, but also running from this commitment and irresponsibly just, you know, having kids all over the place. And I start unpacking that and I look at it to a degree and it feels eerily similar to my pattern. Separate, I mean, I don't have a bunch of kids all over the place, but
and you don't have two. I mean, you don't have two partners. I mean, you know, you're not living. I mean, I bet you wish you did, but you don't. Not that I know of. Do you have two partners? I tried to set you up sexually a couple of months ago, but I don't know if that panned out or not.
That person would not want two partners either. Just so you know. I have one child that I co-parent with his mom, and that's great. I love what I do, and I think part of it where I feel like there's similarities between me and my dad is comedy is the one place that makes me feel alive, entertaining and writing and creating. Everything else falls second. So when there are huge responsibilities and big things that I have to take care of, run's not the right word, but I'll anxious avoidant that shit to the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month if I have to. So, you know, comedy as an escape from something, you know, or does it fulfill you? I don't know what the difference is, but I feel like radio meant that to him, which is why he was so superb at it, which is why he helped so many people while he was doing it. I did the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and afterwards, just random black people are coming. Yeah, your dad in 1971 got me my first and then I remember I needed a tape recorder, and we was at the press gun. Your daddy loaned me his audio, and like it's just he loved what he did, and also I think to a degree just ran from everything else. So, you know, you have to unpack who your parents are if you're going to figure out who you are and what the best parts of them are, so that you can take that and pass that on to your children.
You open the book by saying, trying to raise a child before healing your inner child is a motherfucker. So what do you feel like you've healed your inner child?
Getting there. Oh, guess what I bought about a month ago? I bought that same black Voltron lion that I was crying to my mom about in Memphis in the 80s. And I saw it at like a collectible store. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get that fucking lion now. It's mine now. I don't have it on one of these days. It'll make it to this shelf. But the idea of, you know, I have a responsibility to my son, so I'm not here to play video games and watch baseball all day. But I do feel like there's a degree of joy and fun that I lost because I had to work. I had to rake leaves. I had to cut deals in the neighborhood because I didn't know when the next argument was going to happen between the two of them, and he wasn't going to pay a bill. And then the gas is off or the heat is off, no electricity. You know, my mom was working her ass off, 2 jobs and night school and law school and grad school. I don't want to bother her with needing $50 for the sneakers or the field trip. So I'm going to hustle. So yeah, I missed out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I missed out. I missed out on a lot of things because I had to grow up a little faster,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, being a latchkey kid when you were growing up is probably, well, not probably, it's a lot different than it is today and what it means today.
Oh, it's illegal now. What we were doing, oh, they would have taken me away from my mom in a heartbeat.
First of all, let's talk about your almost threesome that you had, getting a ride home.
Is that how you classify?
That's how I
Keep going.
classified it. Yeah, why don't you tell us that story?
It's one of those things though where like, here's the thing. They tell kids, hey, be careful. Don't let nobody touch you in your area, right?
Right.
Like, make sure no one touches your breast. They never tell you how perverts spit game. Is that a better way of putting
Yeah,
it?
Like the grooming.
Basically, you say when somebody really wants to go out of their way for you or do you a favor and they're too eager to do it, watch out.
Don't trust them. And I'm like that to this day. I don't trust anybody that's anxious to help me. What do you want? What do you need? It's not all molestation now. It's more industry angling. What's your angle? What are you trying to do? It's like when women are nice to me and then like 2 days in they go, hey, is Trevor Noah single? I'm like, you motherfucker. I knew that's what it was. So the reason why I told that story in the book is that
give us the story? Give our listeners a little version or the abridged version of that story.
I worked at a hospital in the cafeteria, and my supervisor used to give me rides home from work. If my car was broken down that week, I had a supervisor who did not live on my side of town. There were coworkers who lived on that side of town who would take me, and my supervisor would go, no, I'm taking Roy. Y'all go ahead and go home. I'm taking Roy home. And we would ride home and he would ask me a million questions about my life and what you're doing and talk about girls. I'm 16 for context. It's like a 30, 35-year-old man. And what you're doing, what you're up to, take you to the gas station, get you candy, to the point where after a while, my favorite candies were already in the car. And I'm thinking that's odd, but I'm like, oh, this is my boss. This is cool. Also, I'm 16 at that point. I think I'm out of the molestation window because they make you believe that, like, for all the back to school specials and all the stuff they talk about with child kidnap and all of that, they made it seem like middle school was the cutoff for attractiveness to pedophiles and perverts. And so my guard was down. It was very much down. And so one day he gives me a ride home and he goes, hey, I need to stop at a friend's house real quick to I got to get ready. I'm going to this thing tonight. I'll go, okay, cool. I'm waiting in the car. It's a pretty rough neighborhood. And he goes, you shouldn't wait in the car. GDs out here, the gangster disciples, they out here, the GDs will get you, whatever, come on in the house. I get in the house, I sit on the couch. 10 minutes later, the cook from the hospital, he walks into the living room. He's naked. He's got a towel on, but to me, you're naked. You got on nothing but a towel, you're naked. You shouldn't be in another room with another man. Like, your dick should never be flapping. It's what my Uncle Derek told me. It's like, if your dick's flapping, you don't have on enough clothes. Go back, put some drawers on. And he comes in and he sits on the couch and starts making small talk with me. And then my supervisor, he comes out from the back.
This is called a power dynamic, everybody. This is a power dynamic from the hospital cafeteria.
He's in nothing but a towel, freshly showered. Both of them still ain't even dried off up top. 2 shirtless men in bath towels sitting next to me. And they start trying to make chit chat. And that's when it clicked. And it took a while, but that's when it clicked. And I'm like, hey, my mom is waiting for me and she's going to be looking for me. And that was the one thing, but that was the one thing I remembered that somebody had taught me at the boys club was that if somebody's harassing you and you feel like you're going to get kidnapped, let them know that, somebody the search will begin shortly after you snatch me. Like, I don't know what y'all trying to do, but whatever it is, we not going to do that shit today, bro. my mama waiting on me, and you could see them kind of both look at each other, and they're like asking me like very like non-hospital questions about, when's the last time you had sex? Do you like blowjobs? Do the girls give you blowjobs? Like, it was just very, very on the nose. Y'all trying to do some shit. And I was like, we gotta get the fuck up out of here, man. And they agreed, and they got dressed, and they took me home. And my supervisor never talked to me again at work. No more rides home either.
Yeah, I would think
which confirmed, like,
In case you're mistaken.
I think that was confirmed when they came out in bath towels.
I mean, but you compare that to a manager I had. I had a manager at Baskin Robbins, hated taking me home. Made it known that he didn't want to, but would, but hated it. We're still cool to this day.
Are you?
Yeah, because that's honesty. True benevolence. I don't think real benevolence comes with excitement. People would rather be doing something else, but they do it for you out of some love or respect or whatever.
Or out of some moral compass to do the right thing.
Yeah. Or they just trying to fuck on the couch.
Right. Another similarity we have, you and I, is I had a big bomb at the Montreal Comedy Festival right before I got very successful. And you talk about being booed out of the Apollo. And this was supposed to be your life-changing moment. And so I want you to talk a little bit about when your life-changing moment doesn't become the moment that you want it to be.
How did you stay at the festival after you got booed?
Oh, it was so, I didn't get booed. I bombed, but no one booed me. But worse. I mean, it was loud enough for me to understand that I bombed. And then I had a show the next night, and then I left. And I remember being on the plane, seeing all of these executives who were there to see me, and it was sickening. I was so mortified at my own existence.
I went. It's one of those things where as soon as I walked on stage, I knew I picked the wrong jokes. I had a joke that could have won me that round, and I saved it thinking, well, when I get to round 2, that's when I'm gonna really hit them with the good jokes. Wrong. And I'd already had in my head like how it was gonna play out. Because Apollo, this is my first ever TV gig. This is 2002. I know if I do well here and I come back next week, I can get like, and literally this sounds stupid, but my goal was to get in an Ice Cube movie. It was the Ice Cube to like Hollywood stardom pipeline, because Chris Tucker did well on Def Jam. Ice Cube saw him, put him in movies. Mike Epps did well. Ice Cube saw him, put him in movies. Cat Williams, Don D.C. Curry, some more. Like, there's so many black comics that Ice Cube was just like, yeah, you're famous now. And I was like, this is going to be my moment. And I went out there and I ate shit. Not only did I eat shit, I was supposed to do 3 minutes. I came off stage at 2:15, 2 minutes, 14, 15. I had one more joke left. I go, they're not going to let me do it. I know they're not going to let me finish the next joke. I should leave now so that I don't get booed. And I said goodnight. I walk off stage. But here's the joke on me. You walked off stage. That means you got to go back out and get Kiki shepherded, where she, they put the hand over your head to judge it. And like, give it up for the first comedian. Yeah. Give it up for Roy Wood Jr. And the boo was louder than what would have been if I'd have just taken the original boo. And the ride back to the hotel that night was just like so fucking like it's everything, you're on a high and then immediately you're at your lowest low. And it's gone now, RIP to the 42nd Street McDonald's in Times Square. But I went there and had a Big Mac meal, high C orange to lick the wounds, and just sat there. It was one of those nights where you're sitting there sad and then you can see your reflection in the window. And you're just like, all this happiness streaking by, and you're sitting there and it's just, I don't know what's next. This was the way out. And there's nothing I can do now to change this. And I get back to the hotel we were staying. I was bunking with another guy, Henry Coleman, a great comic out of Memphis. And Henry and I were sharing a hotel room. And Henry had done Apollo, same day, got booed. And we get back to the hotel. We're staying at the Knights Inn in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And it's all open air prostitution and drugs. Like the whole street. Like, I don't know what it is now. I know that Knights Inn is still there, number one. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what that neighborhood is now. We get back, and the sex workers and the pimps and the dope boys that are out there, they give us a round of applause. And it was one of the most meaningful moments of just like community upliftment, because they knew we were there in town to do kind of like, we've been there a couple of days and we talked a little bit in the parking lot. They didn't know, before we get out the car, they didn't know whether or not we got booed or not. They didn't know shit. And it was like, to this day, I'm still touched. Like, I almost paid for some sex that night out of respect.
Have you ever paid for sex, Roy?
Not outright, but
right.
in
That.
theory, all men have. Like, not like, here's my, give me a Venmo, thanks a lot. Not like that.
Let's talk about walking away from jobs. Another element that you and I have in common. What was your final decision in walking away from quitting the Daily Show? Did you have the CNN opportunity for your show on CNN, which is called Have I Got News for You?
No.
You didn't have that job lined up?
No, that wasn't even rumored yet. I left Daily Show October of 22. The CNN conversation happened that following July. But I don't get the CNN opportunity if I don't quit Daily Show. It just didn't feel like a place anymore where there was a solid plan for who the next host would be. And I talk about it a little bit in the book about also, I don't know, I just had ideas, Chelsea. I just had other shit I wanted to do that I know I couldn't do there. I tried to do some of it there. It never got greenlit. Like, I don't want to sound like somebody from SNL whining because I didn't get enough sketches on. I got to do a ton of stuff, but you start evolving and changing. I'm like, well, also there was the paranoia of the merger. I don't know how you felt at the time with all the guest hosting and your name being in the hat. I was hyper paranoid about the merger.
In what way?
And the pending Paramount Skydance,
yes,
which finally happened now, that was cooking back then.
No, I know,
3
but
years ago.
why did that worry you?
Because the first thing you do is cut salary, you cut weight. When you merge a company, you cut things. So whatever it is that's happened to Colbert, if we really want to believe it was solely budget, I thought that to be the Daily Show's fate with no host.
Well, it's the same people.
With just guest hosts?
Right. The same people that run Colbert run the Daily Show.
Okay, so now you're coming off of the writer's strike. You get a call from Comedy Central and they go, what's up? You coming back to work or not? And then I go, y'all got a host? They go, nope. Y'all got a plan for how you gonna find a host? Nope. Well, I know right there I'm not on your short list. Number two, I know that if I stay, I don't know what I'm agreeing to stay to be a part of, and I don't know how bulletproof this new configuration of the show will be. Will this be recession-proof and merger-proof? Jon Stewart was also not in the cards at the time when I left the show. That's an important detail. Because if Jon's coming back, all right, I stay another year and ride it out through the presidential election. But if Jon's not, and if we're going to cut costs, because even if you merge, right, let's just say they cut the Daily Show to a week. Hey, we don't need to do this every night. Let's do it weekly. Well, if you're going to do it every week, I bet you don't need all these correspondents. And if you're going to cut correspondents, I bet you cut from the top, from the highest salary, longest tenured people. This is just where my doomsday brain is going at the time, right? So they're going to keep guest hosting. The merger's going to happen. They're going to trim fat. I might be some of the fat they trim. And by the time they decide that they don't want me, or I decide I don't want to be here anymore, it's going to be after the presidential election, and the window of opportunity to do anything new in late night political satire will be gone. This is the window. Right now, This is the window. If you ever want to do anything different, are you willing to stay here for another year and bet not having anywhere else to go, not knowing how the merger is going to go, not knowing how the Daily Show is going to be handled in the merger? Or do you leave right now and figure it out? The same as you always have. Same as when the sitcom got canceled on TBS. Same as when you got fired from the radio station. Same as when you had the Whoopi Goldberg sitcom on lock and then it didn't happen. So go back out into what you know, which is the unknown. It's the most familiar feeling I have, is not knowing what the hell is next. Like, everybody looked at it as some sort of courageous choice, but it's just like, no, if there's a new show to be made, it'll happen this year. I want to be in line for another show.
Prescient, very prescient.
So I quit.
A lot of people call into this podcast, Roy, talking about this very thing. I mean, in different mediums and careers and professions, but, when to take the move, when to take a jump or a leap of faith, and having, not having the confidence to do that. And you talking about it and knowing that you're going to be okay, because you've always been okay because of your work ethic and because of your hustle. Like, I think that's very powerful for people to hear and to know that, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to a bunch of other opportunities that may not have revealed themselves yet.
Trust yourself, because they won't reveal themselves. CNN, if I was under contract with Daily Show for another year, the CNN wouldn't have even called, because Comedy Central, there's no way they're going to let me out of my deal to go do another show and essentially compete against them during the presidential election year. Not going to happen, bro. So they were never going to do that. And then true to form, there were two things that happened after that. There were only two shows that came out that year. It was the CNN show and After Midnight with Taylor Tomlinson. Those were the only two. And both of those shows are old IP that are remakes. Mm-hmm. So it was even skinnier than I thought it was, because I thought there was still room for a new show or a new idea. There was not. So, I'm not going to say I lucked out, but I definitely had to leave to put myself in a position to advance and do anything else different, and that it worked out, but it just, my advice to your listeners would be, whatever emotion or fear you have, you've felt it before. I think the gift is that you learn how to deal with that pressure or that fear and manage it in a way that makes sense. Okay, if I leave this show and nothing else happens, what can I do? Okay. Oh, I never got around to writing that book. I should write that book about all the dad shit. Okay, I'll do that. And I can sell that script. Maybe I could sell a script. Yeah, I mean, you quit the Daily Show, you'll be hot for at least 2 months. Mm-hmm. That's literally how my brain is processing everything at the time. So I'm just like, there's other ways, and I think something else will present itself if I'm focused. It's like the space shuttle where you keep coming around the Earth. You got 2 windows of reentry. You miss this reentry, you got to circle all the way back around and run out of gas. Like, no, I'll jump now. At least this way I have control over when I jump and I'm not pushed.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I love that. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with Roy Wood Jr. And we're back with Roy Wood Jr.
We'll start with a caller today. Our first caller is Danielle. She says, "Dear Chelsea, I'm an actor, comic, and now an associate marriage and family therapist, and I love your advice. I started stand-up in 2012. I've quit a couple of times over the years, but every time I leave, I can't stop thinking about it, and I always come back. I restarted again in 2023, and this time I'm determined not to quit. Right now, I'm hosting a weekly mic at Westside Comedy, and I love it. I'm 42 with an MFA in acting from USC. Over the years, I've booked some great roles, and I just finished filming a recurring role on a Netflix show coming out in 2026. An agent once told me, "You're over 40 and haven't been a series regular, so your only hope is stand-up." But clearly, that hasn't been entirely true. At the same time, I'm now building a career as a therapist after earning my MA in clinical psychology. I graduated and finished a year-long internship in June. Here's my struggle. I constantly compare myself to younger comics who seem miles ahead. The voice in my head says, why bother? You'll never get on late night, you'll never get your name on the wall at the Comedy Store, and you'll never be a real comic. I bombed hard hosting 4 casino shows recently, which left me wondering, do I grind away and write material for any crowd, or should I focus on shaping comedy that really reflects who I am, psychology-based material? Should I be aimed at therapists, mental health professionals, and maybe try to get gigs at mental health conferences?
No.
How do I keep moving forward without abandoning myself to comparison or self-doubt? Danielle.
Well, first of all, hi, Danielle. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
This is our special guest, Roy Wood Jr., 2 comedians that you could talk to right now.
Hi.
Hello, Danielle. One time for the West Side with the good Mexican food upstairs.
Right on.
First of all, don't gear your casinos suck. Okay, just so you know, because most casinos suck. I have a residency at a casino that does not suck, but a lot of casinos do suck. Especially, that's not your target crowd. So don't let that. That's part of the process. Also, bombing is part of the process. It doesn't feel good when it's happening, obviously, but it makes you a stronger comic. Roy, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's the repetition of it all. Also, you're still stuck on your 2012, so you're measuring yourself in progress from 2012. I feel like if you start comedy and stop, you start back at zero again whenever you come back in, because you're a different person. You can't even do those old jokes anymore. You can't compare yourself to the youngins. It's a leapfrog game. Some start late, some start early, some leapfrog and then fizzle out. Some figure it out later. I think that part of it, I think the name of the game, the advantage you have over any actor is that you can build an audience. And if you have an audience, then you have control, which means you can write your own thing. You can create your own thing. And you're a comic with real world experience. Like you didn't just do this forever. Like you've had regular jobs and shit. You've had an experience. I think that you lean into the material that'll get you rebooked at, some of these club spots and stuff like that. But if you can find your own audience online, if it was 10 years ago, I'd have told you be broad and pray for a Jimmy Fallon late night set. And then maybe that'll be the thing that gets you to the Montreal showcase. But now if you become the person that has a sandbox that works exclusively in a thing, you can grow and build from that and have a very viable audience. When I think about when I think about the Guys We Fucked podcasts, or if you think about, say, I'm trying to think of some of the other stand-ups that just went off and did their own thing. I'm just over here doing Mark Maron's a great example where I'm just going to talk about the things that matter to me, and the people who find me are the people who will cherish it. Honestly, to pay bills, and Chelsea, you tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, to pay bills, even in New York, you only need 20 cities where you can sell about 400 tickets. Maybe let's say 1,000 tickets. If you do 4 nights, $250 a show. You could pay bills just on 20 cities. Now, will you be big? Will you be huge? Will you be everywhere? I don't know. That's debatable. But I really do think that the idea of success versus stardom is something that's blurred. And I think that comedians who feel like they're on the outside looking in look at stardom as the only form of success. You can go do those corporate. I bet you one of them therapy conferences would pay your ass $25K to $100K to eventually. I remember there was a guy I opened for, I think his name is Mark Klein, if I'm not mistaken. Mark Klein used to call himself the Corp, C-O-R-P, the Corp Jester. He only did corporates. I don't think and I'm not saying this to shit on Mark Klein if he's still out there doing stand-up, I don't think he had a television credit in the 2000s and was living comfortably and great. So it's all about what your idea of success is as well. Because if you could bring humor to the MFA world, there's not a lot of people qualified to even tackle into that. So you could be the beachhead.
Also, look at Leanne Morgan. I mean, she just hit it.
I
She's
know.
older than everybody here. She just hit it the last few years. So you don't know when, your success or your version of success is going to happen. But, comparing yourself to others is not uncommon. Everybody is doing that because of social media. But it's not a great habit. It doesn't bring out the best in any of us to sit there and look at what other people are doing. You have to be confident in the fact that you have your own path and that you're going to go down the road that you're going down. That is the road that is curated for you, by you. You know what I mean? You're the one who's making decisions around yourself and around your career and what you're going to do. And you have to have confidence in that. In and of itself, that's what you're doing something. How many other people are doing what you're doing? Not, probably not very many who have a degree, an MFA, or do you have a marriage, family, child counseling, MFCC, and your other Bachelor of Fine Arts? Did you also say that you had one of those?
MFA from USC, yeah, acting.
MFA, sorry. Okay, so there, a Master of Fine Arts. So that's already original. That's, that's stuff you can use. And I wouldn't curtail your material to different people. It's like, you kind of I feel this way. I don't know, Roy, you tell me. I do my thing wherever I am. I don't ever adjust it for people because I just feel like you have to really know what you're doing on stage and be completely committed to that material, because if you're not, that's when you have a bad experience or a weak set or you feel like you bombed, is when you're not confident, because that you can smell
you tried
that.
to be something you weren't for an audience that was never going to appreciate the truest version of you. So now you're just, it's like, if you think of comedy as a relationship and you're on stage as the first date, how much are you going to pretend to be something just so that particular date likes you? Well, then who the fuck are you?
It's a great analogy. Yeah.
It's just likability and trying to get people to like you enough to go on a journey with you. And some people might not. I do think one thing that, and I don't know what your writing habits are, but critique yourself often and try to find and squeeze an extra line of laugh out of material. I'm not going to act like I write the tightest 4 laugh per minute type sets, but I think a lot of people, especially in New York, a lot of the newer comics, in my opinion, they get very comfortable once the joke gets a laugh or two and they go, okay, that joke's done. No, it might not be. Think of it, listen to it a couple of different ways. You can message me offline and I can give you what my approach has always been. It's just, what happens if I tell this joke louder, faster, or at a different octave? You could take words that aren't even funny and make them funny. There's ways to just juice another laugh out of stuff and be comfortable with hating yourself. Because sometimes, I listen to audio of myself and I watch it as a hater. Listen to it as a hate. And then I give tags. Well, what he should have said was this. Oh, well, I'm him. Well, I just tagged my own shit just by listening to it. It's a free joke. So, that part of it, don't run away from it. But I really do think that the idea of just performing and waiting for, comedy Jesus to find us in the back of the comedy clubs, I think those days are gone. I think it's all about being yourself consistently enough and then growing from there. I stopped short of telling comedians to put clips out every week or every month or whatever, but find a pace that makes sense for you, or be the comic that's responsive to a particular issue on a regular basis. And maybe that's your thing. Or maybe it's hey, this current event happened. Let me show you how this fits into the world of therapy.
Yeah.
And here's a
through the lens
therapy
of
joke
therapy
about
is
the
a
thing.
good idea too.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Commenting on world events, pop culture, whatever you're the most passionate about, through the lens of therapy with that bent.
Well, and I think mental health and therapy stuff does play more broadly nowadays. We all have that language. It's become de rigueur. I also want to say that corpsjester.com is alive and well. So Mark Klein is out there doing his thing.
My dog.
Look at him.
Shout out to
Look
Mark
at that. Awesome. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful, Danielle.
Very. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sure.
Nice to meet you both.
Nice to
All right.
meet you.
Thanks, Danielle.
And nice to see you, Catherine. Thank you.
Likewise.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Roy Wood. And we're back with Roy Wood Jr. and Sr.
Okay. So our last question comes from Carrie. This one's just an email. She says, "Dear Chelsea, I'm not a stand-up comedian or frontline act, i.e. entertainer. However, I'm in the entertainment business and understand how it all works. I'm heavily involved in the music, SNL, 30 Rock comedy scene on the business end. 2 years ago, I pursued a guy who's involved with the comedy podcast scene, and he didn't show reciprocated feelings. Now, 2 years later, I'm really interested in another comedian, but I'm scared to be labeled as a chuckle fucker. I feel like only women get these labels, and I'm not sure how to navigate it. Do I just say fuck it and shoot my shot, or should I look elsewhere?" Carrie.
Yeah, fuck it. What do you care? What's a chuckle fucker anyway? I mean, who gives a shit what anyone thinks? If you like funny men, you like funny men.
Also, chuckle fucker is reserved for people not in the business, and this is as a guy who's fucked a couple chuckle fuckers. Chuckle fuckers are not people that are within the industry. You're just somebody in the industry dating people in the industry. Cops fuck cops. Sometimes they fuck firefighters. I think you shoot your shot. I do think that. I would be very discreet about it. I wouldn't put a lot of public appearance on that. Just know that if it's taking off, at some point he's going to tell a friend or a buddy or whatever, but why not fill it out and just say hello? And just,
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't worry about what being labeled anything. You're in the business. You're in the business. Just because you're not a comedian doesn't mean you're not in the business. It's all related. And who cares? Oh my God, we're all going to die soon anyway. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how old that person is, but once they get into their 30s, you're going to realize that there's a couple of comics that have all cross-pollinated and, I've never openly dated one, not as like a title of girlfriend, but I've dated like 2 or 3 comedians.
Well, I think you and Yamanika should start dating. Don't
start rumors. Don't start rumors.
She's looking for someone. She's looking for someone to land on. And it might just be you. Yeah, it might just be you,
Roy. I love Yamanika,
Roy.
and I've told her a long time ago, I don't know if you stepmom material. I got a 9-year-old. You might try and cuss out my baby. and then his mama be over here to cuss your ass. Let me stop talking.
Before we let you go, Roy, I just want to know, since you have a political show and you're a political commentator, how do you see? What's your view or long lens of our current political situation? How do you see things?
I think that we are into an administration that, if we are not careful, is going to be controlling the messaging through all of the media, through lawsuits and intimidations and leveraging money as a way to silence voices. And I don't think that's something that's exclusive to liberals. If you want to get into the weeds of freedom of speech and stuff like that, like that part, scares me for sure. Like that's real cancel culture. Mm-hmm. When you can't even vocalize or verbalize anything, or someone controls all the airwaves, so you can't even get equal time to spit your opinions and perspectives. That makes me nervous. But it was nice to see what I perceive to be the comedy community coming together on the Jimmy Kimmel joint and all saying, well, wait, you can't do that. And that gives me hope, because comedians are still the tip of the spear. If anything's going to change, I think it starts with comedians and also strippers, because the strippers be dancing for the politicians.
And thank you very much for that sentiment. Thank you, Roy Wood Jr. You can catch him on CNN. His show is called I Got News for You. His new book is called The Man of Many Fathers. It's an incredible book. I recommend every mother getting this and reading it. And any straight men that are listening to this, you should read it too. But I doubt there are a lot of straight men listening to this podcast. And women read more than men. So there we go.
Fair.
I'm glad to be a woman. I'm proud of our female listener readers. Mm-hmm. And who needs straight men anyway? Thank you, Roy.
Wait a minute now. Okay. Well,
and on that note, congratulations, Roy. We love you. Thank you for coming on.
The word of the week is penurious. Adjective. Given to or marked by extreme frugality. Penurious.
The penurious miser declined to put a coin in the Salvation Army bucket. Penurious.